Hey, folks, did law enforcement do enough when an African American named Daniel Robinson, a geologist, went missing in an Arizona desert 3 months ago? So, why does this family have to beg, borrow, and plea for help as they organize week after week searches for their son who's been missing for 3 months in an Arizona desert? This is a talented young man, an educated young man who went missing after an accident in the desert. It's so interesting to think about this when just across the country in Florida, there are hundreds of law enforcement officers searching for Brian Laundrie in the Gabby Petito case. Let's watch this segment with Vinnie Politan on Court TV last night when we talked about this case.
So let's open up tonight's Unsolved Case File. Again, if you have any information, pick up the phone, make that call tonight. Tonight's story comes to us from our great affiliate KSTU in Salt Lake City, Utah. Reporter Angie Cole has the story of Daniel Robinson.
David Robinson has now spent 3 grueling months in Arizona. Feeling abandoned by police and ignored by national media, the South Carolina father assembling his own team of private investigators and volunteer search crews.
We conducted 7 weeks of searches without any assistance from the Buckeye Police Department, including searches with cadaver dogs, drones, fixed-wing aircraft.
Robinson believes his 24-year-old son Daniel would have been found by now if he had more help from law enforcement. He hired private investigator Jeff McGrath after a rancher found Robinson's Jeep crashed in a ravine in the desert in July. McGrath specializes in accident reconstruction.
The airbag control module tells us the story of what happened with that vehicle. 5 seconds before, all the way up to the airbags coming out. It does not match that ravine.
Because Robinson's clothing and belongings were found nearby, Buckeye police quickly ruled out foul play.
I found one of Daniel's socks 3 miles away from where the vehicle was recovered. So if Buckeye did the searches they searched, they should have found this sock as well.
Newly released police reports showed family, friends, and colleagues told police Robinson wasn't acting himself in the days leading up to his disappearance. But none indicated they thought he may harm himself. David Robinson just wants some answers.
It took an unfortunate missing person case that captured the nation's attention that my son had a shot at being seen and heard.
And again, folks, our thanks. It was not KSTU, KNXV in Phoenix. Angie Cole reporting for us. If you have any information, please call the Buckeye Police Department. We're going to put that number up for you. 623-349-6400 is the number. Still with me, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon. Also with us, Mike King, retired police commander, host of the Profiling Evil podcast. Mike, this story, there's a lot of parts that to me don't make a lot of sense. That sock that is 3 miles away. I don't know what happened here. And I don't know if investigators have done enough, or maybe they have. What are your initial thoughts about the disappearance of Daniel Robinson?
Well, I think the first thing that I found interesting is that coworkers said that he was acting oddly, and we don't know if he was having a health issue, if there was drug use going on or anything like that. And I say this all very respectfully to the family as we kind of look at this idea, because it's not uncommon to see someone who is under the influence of something to maybe start removing clothes. Even in the desert at night when it gets cold, you can see people as they get hypothermic start to shed clothing. And so that is an interesting thing. But the thing that really troubles me is the way that that vehicle looked, and now hearing that there's a little more forensic information about the vehicle and when the airbags were deployed, how it may have ended up in that ravine, and whether there was any physical sign of him actually walking away, and if he in fact he walked that 3 miles before his sock was found. And to be critical of searchers not finding a sock, again, that's a pretty small needle in a haystack, but you can't discount the fact that law enforcement, if the reports I read are accurate, decided not to put a helicopter up or something else that might really give them a quick way to look around, especially after dark with the technology that we have to see heat transfer.
Bobby Chacon, what are your thoughts about the disappearance of Daniel Robinson?
Well, these cases, as we see in the Gabby Petito case, these are very manpower intensive cases. It's a lot of people. It takes a lot of people to go downrange and to throw at the problem. Now, when some of this happens in a very small rural jurisdiction that may not have the ability to put 100 investigators out on a case overnight, you also have the complication that this is an adult of adult age with a job, and a disappearance is not necessarily criminal. You don't start a criminal case. And so I think some of the family's displeasure was the fact that the police didn't jump on this right away. Well, there are sometimes policies that they wait 72 hours. In those 72 hours, it could have rained and washed away some of that, that evidence that Mike's talking about as far as what came and went from that vehicle where it was finally found. So I think that in this case, you may have had a slow start by the police. May have had an inability of them to marshal enough people to do these types of searches, and they may have just not taken it seriously, because here's an adult. Adults disappear every day. And many times they show back up. And so, if there's no evidence of a crime, it's much harder to take police resources that are limited away from other areas of the community and to put them towards this. Should they have? You'd like to have the ability to investigate every case 100% with every resource that you have, but you don't have that. You have limited resources. You have to make those types of decisions. In this case, they may or may not have made the right decision.
Mike King, so how do you think they figured this out? And how does the family proceed here? They've got this private investigator working the case. Obviously, there's much more of a spotlight on it now. But how do you find Daniel?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to actually do the forensics on the vehicle and the computer on board and see what it really tells. And I haven't been able to find anything that says when they actually found the vehicle in comparison to when this young man disappeared, which also creates some timeline issues and could have gotten this young man in a position where he was at a health crisis before they even found his vehicle and knew the area to look. Photos like the one we're looking at right here, we see snow on the mountaintop, so we know that the temperatures again get down. But you got to break this area down into a grid search, and you got to start and frankly take advantage of what this family's doing, which is a Herculean task to garner the forces to go out and start searching. But you got to create a grid search and be able to start checking off the boxes that we've checked this area, we've checked that area. It may be too late if, in fact, this young man is deceased to be able to rely on things like buzzards or any kind of depredation by animals to be able to show you anything. But you certainly could increase the aerial presence with drone imagery and other kinds of things and start looking. But you got to go back to the ground level of that vehicle, and what do you learn from that first? Because it might give us what the behaviors are of this young man immediately after. If he's injured in this crash and is in the vehicle when it happens, that could easily explain why he might wander off in the wrong direction and get himself into a health crisis.
All right. We will continue to follow this story and any developments here on Closing Arguments. Big thank you tonight. Bobby Chacon, Mike King, your experience and insight is really valuable. We appreciate it, and we'll see you again really soon.
Thanks, Benny.
Thank you.
Still ahead.
Well, you heard it. The father says that this may be racist in nature, and the difference why they're not getting the help that other missing persons do. I'm going to look forward to seeing your comments down below, and I hope you'll weigh in on whether this is racist or just an unfortunate incident. And I want to thank the Court TV team and Vinnie Politan for the opportunity to appear and weigh in on these cases. I hope you'll take a moment and hit the like and the subscribe button. Ring the bell so that you get all of our notifications. And I want to say most of all, thank you so much for supporting Profiling Evil. We'll see you soon at the next crime scene.